Welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to read from my latest book, which just came out last month, Exiles of Tabat. But first, our introduction. Hello, I'm going to read the first chapter of Exiles of Tabat, and hopefully you like it so much that you're like, either you go get it because you've read the first two books, or maybe you go get the first two books. So here we go, Exiles of Tabat. Chapter 1, Journey of the Stooping Hawk, Bella. They have killed Bella Kanto. She is dead and gone. What's left is a husk, hollowed out, nothing inside it but air. If someone pushed at it, she would collapse, this ghost, this facsimile of Bella Kanto. I walk to the cabin's porthole and look out over the ocean that surrounds us. Bella Kanto looks out, would have looked out, if she were not gone. I am Bella Kanto, but I'm not. It's as though I never knew who I was. The boat's creak and sway surrounds me, always reminding me that I am somewhere other than Tabat. This tiny vessel is not a city, isn't anything like it. The same handful of people every day. Not that I talk to any of them, nor they to me. Rahua, the Duke's huntswoman, wishes to talk, perhaps. She was there at my elbow when we came on board, hovered near me, watched the sailors bring my boxes aboard. Perhaps she does not really want to talk. Perhaps she only wants to make sure I do not jump overboard, that Bella Kanto does not commit suicide, even though she is already dead. I am nothing without my city, without Tabat. It was part of me. It beat in my heart and breathed in my lungs. Now there is wave noise and wood plaint instead of the street bustle, the tumbling of wheels, the calling of vendors. This is nothing like Tabat. Tabat, which I will never see again. The thought, which I have tried to ward off, slips through my defenses, hits me like a dagger, like it has every time before. I thought I had gotten away from it, that I could slide my mind sideways and avoid its contemplation, but it comes at unexpected turns, and it is all the more painful when I am unprepared like this. I miss Tabat. I miss waking in the morning to the mewing of the gulls, the whisper and rustle of pines outside my bedroom window, the shrill buzz of the fairies waiting for me to feed them. They will have forgotten me by now, if Abernia has not summoned someone to put them down, as she was always threatening to do. A scratch at the door. If it were a person, I would not answer, but I do. I go to the door and open it just enough for the puppy to slide inside. He snuffles against me, rubbing his head against my shins. Not really a pup, almost full grown. Alberic must be angry to have lost this dog. I'd seen him leading it about by the gilt leash that it still trailed when it jumped on board at the last minute. Rahua confiscated that. She was not happy about the addition, but what could she do? Order the ship to turn around for the sake of a mere dog? The sailors do not mind him. But it is me the dog follows. My door that he slept outside last night, since I would not allow him the comfort of my cabin. He wants attention. He wants love. I have nothing to give him, but he follows me still. So I sit now and pet him. I let him rest his head on my knee as I stroke his fuzzy ears. His eyes watch my face with that soulful gaze that only dogs can muster, as though his heart lies open before me, tender and beating. Bella Kanto deserved such love. I do not. We sit like that, the dog and I. I have no prescribed regimen for my day. Adelina sent me a box that I think holds books from the press, but I do not like to read. And worse, nowadays it makes my eyes and head hurt as they never have before. And that is the worst of Bella Kanto being dead. She never felt the aches and twinges of age, never had a cold or sore throat, was always at her peak. I can feel all that age crawling over me, settling into my bones, making my knees ache in the cold mornings, making my back hurt when I've sat too long in one position. I had grown unaccustomed to making accommodations for my body. Now it demands them, as though angered by all those years of neglect. I threw the little mirror that used to hang on the wall here out the porthole after the first time I looked in it. Adelina would tell me I'm still beautiful, but it's not Bella Kanto's beauty, but someone else's. The face of an older, grimmer, so much grimmer, woman with no smile in her eyes. Not Tabat's Bella Kanto. Whose Bella Kanto am I now? Not Adelina's. We will write back and forth for a few years, perhaps, but she will forget me soon enough. This cabin stinks of melancholy and stale air. It's where I belong, as good a place as any, at any rate. Bella Kanto doesn't belong anywhere anymore. The dog noses my hand because I have stopped petting him. I ignore his little whine. There is no point to petting him. There is no point to anything because there is no point to being Bella Kanto. What does Rahua think of Bella Kanto, I wonder? Before all this we had met, but I never thought much of her. If anything, I thought she might be a little jealous of me, but I always assumed that in those days. Who would be jealous of me now? She is the Duke's huntswoman, the one who organizes many of his outings. Not a hereditary position, but one appointed. Someone he trusts implicitly. So implicitly, he's willing to lose her services for half a year so she can do whatever is to be done with me. They say it is exile. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I'll die mysteriously along the way. The door swings open and a shadow falls across me. Rahua stands there in the doorway, prim and neat as always. I cannot imagine her disheveled, but her outfit is not elegant or overly fussy, simply trim of line, the cloth immaculate and unwrinkled. It makes me wonder if there is some magic laid upon her wardrobe, but that's a pricey magic for vanity's sake. No, it is simply that she's one of those people who's never taken at a loss, as I used to be. Now her presence just sends me into a blank abyss. What does she want? There is always a secret terror in me that she's here only to let me get close to escape before she takes me back to that cell. That would be a cruel thing, but Alberic can be cruel. I swallow and stare at her. She says, "Come and walk on the deck before dinner. You will grow unhealthy sitting and brooding and breathing your own stink. There will be a storm this evening and no chance for fresh air." Is it an order or a request? I am unsure, but I do not want to find out by denying it and having her force the issue. Her eyes flit behind me. "You can bring the dog," she says. Her tone makes me say something I had not planned to. "What is its name?" "I beg pardon," she says, politely, but as though I had said something absurd. "The dog. Surely Alberic named him. He seemed to dote on it." She shakes her head. I never heard him refer to it. In my next letter, I will inquire. We walk on the deck, Rahua and I. The dog trails me. He keeps to my right on the opposite side from her, as though he does not trust her. I do not think he would have fallen under her care at any time. He is a healthy young animal and still intact. So where would he have acquired this dislike? It makes me not trust her as well. Animals have a way of knowing such things, are able to sniff out the corruption in the heart, or so I was always taught. It is more likely that they know who is capable of cruelty by the way they smell and move, though, not that they have some organ that can divine what lies within a human heart. Is there something about my own heart that pulls this dog? Is it that I am broken? Dogs are loyal, they say, but I never interacted with this one much. I remember yesterday watching him racing towards the dock, the only thing moving while everyone held their breath. I cannot help but love an animal that loves me so much. Even broken, I must be capable of that, surely. He is my fellow exile. This ship, the Stooping Hawk, is another of Alberic's proudest possessions. What does it mean that he has chosen it to take me away? That he cares whether or not I make it to my destination? That he seeks to do me honor for my long service to the city? That he wishes me gone as quickly as I can be? Is there anything else about this ship? It is new. Works both by sail and the engine hidden in its hull, magic powered and rarely used. The captain took Rahua and me on a tour when we arrived, showed us the tiny room that holds that engine and the shelf laden with the orbs that power it. My mind circles that again because I had never realized the source of that power before. Dragon eggs, each holding enough potential magic to take us hundreds of leagues before it is drained. No wonder the Duke's menagerie is always in search of dragons, despite the danger and the fact that such beasts must be crippled, their wings removed. I have never considered until now all the things that Tabat depends on. Not until now, when I am no longer one of those things. The trees once housing dryads burn in its furnaces. Dragons power its transportation. Minotaurs and centaurs work its docks, and the smaller creatures are its servants. Others entertain it, like the great cage of fairies in the College of Mages, or the poet Melusine, beloved, but still a slave. They make me uneasy, these new thoughts. Rahua says, do you have any questions about Fort Plenitude? That is my ultimate destination, the one where my exile will begin. I'm sure my friend Adelina has sent along an armload of books about it, I say. I don't say I have no intent of reading any of them. I have visited there and can tell you something of it, Rahua presses. Is she merely entertaining herself? Or is there some purpose to this? A threat, perhaps, or a warning? She is Alberic's creature, and when I am not too tired and sunk in grayness to care about trust, I do not trust her and her immaculate persona. No one is that smooth, that perfect. And sometimes, when such people crack and let you see what lies beneath, it is something frightening. Very well, I say, tell me of its culture. She laughs, a dainty, amused chuckle, a laugh that makes me feel as though I have put my foot in a snare. Culture? Well, little enough of that. It is the frontier, after all. I hope you are not expecting theaters and arenas and tailors and such. She is scolding me for a presumption I have not made. That stings enough to get me past the grayness rolling over me at the thought of a city that is not Tabat. I meant, I say, making patience evident in my tone, the way I might have done to rebuke a student without directly calling them out. The people. Are they friendly sorts? Or all aloof, solitary-minded explorers? Ah, she says, friendly enough to those they feel contribute something to their society. Her tone leaves no doubt that she does not think they will feel this way about me. I try to see myself through her eyes. Does she really believe a gladiator is good for nothing but showy arena fights? In my prime, I fought hand to hand on Alberic's missions a score of times, maybe more, particularly in the difficult Rose Kingdom, where it is so easy to step awry and offend someone in a way that can only be avenged with blood. No, I can fight. And more than that, I can teach people how to fight. But I don't say this. Don't really feel I want to argue the point or assert my value to society. When I get there, if I choose to, I can prove myself. But will they let me fight even? Given the false charges, I may be in disgrace there, may be shunned because of the rumors of sorcery. But who cares what a bunch of provincials think? It might be easiest if they avoid my company entirely. I imagine myself not just an exile, but a hermit, living in a snug cabin in the hills, refusing all human interactions, seeking only the dog's company. That seems very unlike Bella Kanto, but perhaps it is what I have become. The antithesis of that woman who always had friends and lovers and enemies, I remind myself, at hand. I rest my hands on the railing and watch the horizon as I pretend to contemplate Rahua's words. I don't care about them. I don't care what the new city will be like. It will not be Tabat, and that alone is enough to drive me to despair. Are you having nightmares? Rahua asks. The unexpected question drives into me like a nail, makes me flinch, although I know that is not her intention. Probably. I'm growing accustomed to them, I say. When someone has been through a deep trauma, Rahua pauses, and I'm grateful to find does not elaborate on the cause of such trauma before continuing. They find themselves reacting differently than they used to. That is certainly a word for it. How different could I be? But I keep my mouth shut. She says into that silence, "Do you think that's true, Bella Kanto?" I cannot tell if she is curious or mocks me. I say, "I do not know any more what is true or not, Rahua. I am told what is the truth. And that is my truth now, the Duke's truth. Is that what you wish to hear at the heart of it all?" My words do what I had hoped silence her. My words do what I had hoped silence her. I do not want to talk to her because I do not want to understand her. If I do, I might agree with her judgment of me. The days of this journey will be very long. The dog nuzzles closer to my side, perhaps seeking warmth, perhaps sensing the tension that thrums in the air like a taut rope. I can see the storm Rahua predicted, darkening the blue of the horizon, smudging it like one of Leah Noah's oil paintings, looking nothing like life, and yet nothing so real as that. I will never see my cousin Leah Noah again. There is no way she could survive the rigors of a trip to the frontier. She gave me a painting rolled up in my trunk. I have not unrolled it to see it what it was. I cannot bear to think she might have given me a canvas, showing me as I once was, dressed in winter's armor, cold and chilly as a steel blade, and so unbearably confident and proud. That was all Bella Kanto was, confidence and pride. And now that it is gone, what face will I show the world? The dog licks my hand. His awkward, ungainly affection reminds me of the boy I took in what seems like years rather than a few weeks ago. I rest my fingertips on his head. "What will I call you?" I say to him, rather than speaking to Rahua. "You could name him after one of the expeditions that paved the path to Port Flentitude," Rahua says. "I'm sure your books are full of such names." She sounds as though she's well aware I rarely crack a spine, even on the books about me that Adelina has written. What does she want of me? I want to turn and confront her, demand an answer. Instead, I keep silent, although my fingers twitch against the dog's skull, feeling the bone beneath the soft, loose skin. She stands there as though she cannot believe my silence. I stare into the distance. Her attention is a goad, poking at me, poking at me. It reminds me of when I was newly come to the Brides of Steel and all the other girls picked on me because they were so outraged that Marilla had allowed me in, despite the fact I was too old and had not suffered through the years of training they had. They tried all sorts of mean tricks and things that were more than tricks. I had so little experience with my peers, even at 15. I'd been in Piper Hill being trained by Jolietta for the 7 years before then, and there'd been no other human children there. But I survived them. I ignore Rahua and think about the fact that since Alberic confiscated all my holdings, he now owns half the school. Marilla must hate that. After a time, Rahua turns and walks by herself up and down the deck. The sailors avoid her as though she is ill-omened in some way, I'm pleased to note, but it is more likely her manner that is so off-putting to them. The dog stays with me, pressed against my leg, and the warmth and solidity are welcome. "We need a name for you," I tell him again, and he looks at me as if to say, "Well then, do something about that." And I shrug at him before we go inside. All right, chapter 1, there's more. And if you remember Lucy from the last book, Lucy comes into this one as well. All right. That's it. Going to end recording, and I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know. As always, subscribe, like, comment, I don't know, interact. Take care.